Playing bass is all about playing the tones of a chord in a lower octave. And there are 3 notes in major chords. And those are the root, the third, and the fifth. So if we're talking about a C chord, that has the notes C, E, and G. C is the root, and that's probably the most important note, or the most played note, rather, I should say, that we're going to play on the bass. So if we have an old song like, say, Red River Valley, which you're probably familiar with, an old folk song, and we play it in C, we want to find that root tone, or the C, on the bass. It's on the 3rd string. Remember, the thinnest, highest pitched note is the 1st string, 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th string is the lowest note. By the way, the names of those notes are G, D, A, and E. So getting back to that Red River Valley and the C, our C is on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. So I could just play that note all the while that I'm on the C chord. That's a C note, the root. From this valley, they say, you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet. Now on smile, the chord changes, and that means that we'd have to play a different note or different set of notes for a different chord. Now, that line I just played, it worked. It wasn't the most exciting bass line you've ever heard. Turns out that, you remember I said that a chord has 1, 3, and 5, and that we can play any of those and other notes too while we're on that chord. Well, another typical note, in addition to the root, that a bass plays would be the 5th. And this is what's really cool as far as the way the bass is designed. Here's my root again, my C. Turns out I can play a 5th that's lower than that note by just going down to the next lowest string. So here's my root, here's my 5th, here's my root, here's my 5th. Now I know you've heard this a million times for bass lines, and this holds for bass lines whether they're played on electric bass, string bass, tuba, sousaphone, whatever, any bass instrument, they're going to do a lot of root and a lot of 5. So in fact, I've heard people, when they tell me what they want me to play on the bass, they'll just say, just root and 5, root and 5. Do that over and over again. Let's do that same Red River Valley smidgen. We're going to start, we're going to root and a 5, root. From this valley, they say, you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile. Okay, and then smile, we'd have to change to a different pattern. So this root 5 thing you can do in many, many styles of music, and it almost always works. You just have to know what the name of the chord is, and then you have to know where the root of that chord is on your fingerboard. Once you know the root, you know that the 5th is always going to be 1 string down, same fret. So if I start on the 3rd fret, my 5th is going to be on the 3rd fret, just like the root. Now, here's an amazing thing. I can move this all over the fingerboard. As long as I start with a root on a string and then have another string to go to that's lower. And what I mean by that is, so here, if that's my first bass note on my first chord, by the way, this happens to be a G note, I have nowhere else to go. But I'll show you a way around that in a minute. What I can do is, let's say I want to play up here. If I did that same song, it would be, from this valley, they say, you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile. And again, we have to go to a different chord there. So it works there, it works here, it works here, it works here. But what do you do if you start on, say, the 4th string and you don't have a 5th string to go to? Well, there's another pattern of root and 5 that works just as well. Let me go back to C again. Here's my first pattern, right? Staying on the same fret, moving down a string. Well, there's also a 5th, 1 string up in pitch and 2 frets up. So I'm going to have to start with my 1st finger here because I want to use my 3rd or 4th finger to hit the 5th. Here's the root, and here's the upper 5th. From this valley, they say, you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile, where the chord changes. So now we've got 2 ways to play that bass line. And again, I just want to stress that this root and 5 bass line, if this is all you ever play as a bass player, you will always work. It's so basic, get it? It's so fundamental to the way music is structured, all kinds of music, ethnic music, country music, polka music, rock. It's amazing. So now you can go 5, root, 5, root, 5, root, 5, or root, 5, root, 5, root, 5, root, 5, root. Again, this new pattern, which again, to say you find your root, I play it with my 1st finger. I go up a string, and then 2 frets above where my root was to locate my 5. This you can move anywhere. This is so great. So there you go, playing the basic root and 5 in 2 positions. Try it yourself and move it all over the neck and across the fingerboard to different sets of strings.